Hello to all subscribers and viewers. This is the second video corresponding to the repair or replacement of the valve cover gasket. As I mentioned in the first video, it is a very extensive procedure and the videos will be split into several parts. This video corresponds to the second part. We pick up where we were about to start, removing the screws to remove the cover. So in this video we are going to start with that. In some parts of the video I maybe don't talk much. I don't narrate what we are doing in each procedure. Maybe I'll put it in fast motion since it is removing screws and removing parts. So in some parts of the video may be muted and seen in fast motion. I tell you this so that you know here. I am in the part where I am going to remove the coils. They are held by those screws. 4 coils, 4 screws with an 8mm socket, preferably impact or long. Here I show the new gasket that I bought. It is in its bag. It is original from the brand Mazda. In order not to struggle with it, not going to stay or things like that to make it the same. And here we have it. That long part is the gasket. It's gonna go around the entire top valves. We have these as diamonds or small squares they go inside. They cover the spark plugs. They are responsible for covering the spark plugs. We begin the process. Removing the screws that I mentioned hold the coils. I already had them loosened, and that's why I'm removing them by hand easily. This would be the first step. And you also have to remove this sensor. But before starting to disconnect sensors, I recommend disconnecting the battery, in this case the negative pole. This so that the computer is not going to register any fault code. Now that we are going to disconnect sensors, and it may generate some fault code when there is none. This is the harness. As we can see, it is held by some swellings and the plastic swellings to some screws that correspond to the cover. Well, we move on to removing the first coil. We move on to remove the second coil. They are easily removed like this. We pull them. Let's observe a detail here. The second coil. See how it is dry and we can see the first coil. How is it soaked in motor oil? What was it? What I told you was recorded in the first video. That was recorded a long time ago. There he explained the reason for why we are going to change this gasket. Because one of the small square pieces is no longer covering the compartment where the spark plug is, where it connects. The first coil and lets oil pass through, and it's soaking the connector between the coil and the spark plug. That affects our spark. If we get our third coil, we see how dry it is. The fourth coil is also dry. If we let more pass time to change this gasket until we start to cause engine failure, well, we can find more than a wet coil wire, maybe 2, maybe 3. It could even be all 4. Here I'm trying to see if you can see the oil above the spark plugs. You can't see much since it's dark. Well, we've already removed the coils which are connected to the harness. The harness is connected to the tires and the tires to the screws. So we must first remove the tires to access the screws and remove them. We've removed the swells, you can see them here. They come with locks and you will need a special tool or use some small screwdrivers to pry the locks or the little legs they come with to remove them. We've already removed the PCB valve. That one is just pulled straight out and we pull it towards the opposite side. That one was stuck, so I had to twist it a little from side to side to get it out, because it hadn't moved for a long time. It was quite stuck. There's a screw in that corner where I'm holding the socket. You have to remove that little base to access the screw holding the valve cover. Not that one, the one on top where he was holding the socket. That one over there. And that one has a nut holding the base. We remove the nut and see how the base releases, because we have to remove that corner screw. To remove the base, you have to remove another screw at the bottom, which we are going to show right now. Or rather, I'm about to show it right now. You can see a little screw at the bottom. I'm about to point it out. That one there holds the base, so you have to remove it too. They are very hidden and quite complicated. And things can happen here, like the screw falling down, not reaching the ground, getting stuck there, and well, goodbye screw, it's already lost. Or you might drop a number 10 die. These are screws with a number 10 die. And then goodbye die, if it doesn't fall to the ground, if it gets stuck somewhere in the engine. But fortunately, we managed to remove it without any issues. This little screw, that little one. And now we can see how we can remove the base and access that other screw holding the valve cover. As we can see, it involves several steps. 2 steps to access the main screw. We are going to disconnect this other sensor very carefully. They are plastic pieces that, since they have never malfunctioned, have not been removed in a long time. So they need to be handled very carefully, as they come with secure locks. As you can see, we were able to remove it. That other one must also be removed, because the sensor isn't connected to any other part of the cover, but it is held in place by that harness that we saw, and that does go to the lid. Here we are seeing that most of the screws are now free. The ones at the back, this one in the corner, that one in the middle, and this one in the corner is the one we're missing. The ones in front are already released. I'll tell you about the one in the corner. Those are the ones that had the swellings. They are now free to be removed. Those on the left side, the ones in the back as I mentioned. This might seem a little tedious or boring, but I like to show how it's done step by step, so you don't make the same mistakes that I made when I started. Sometimes I remove screws that weren't necessary, or I forgot to remove some that were important, so that's why I like to show you how it's done, so you can avoid the same mistakes. We will end this video here. We continue in the next part of this process.